Hello? Hello?
Hello, this is Jessica, and I'm calling from the National Loan Underwriting and Processing Department. We are following up on your pending personal loan application for $52,000. Your file has cleared preliminary underwriting and is sitting at final approval, but we need to quickly verify your social security number, banking account details, and password information before we can disperse your loan funds. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So my social security number is 7, and my bank is the Bedrock National Bank, and my password is 1234. You get that? 1234.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Mindset Channel. First of all, I want to say thanks to the subscribers and the members. Hey man, y'all got to pick up on that channel membership thing. You're talking about a buck or two just to support the work that we're doing. You're watching the videos, so support the guy who's making the videos so I can keep doing them with peace of mind. You know what I'm talking about? And let me first of all thank DKJ22, Garrett Jackson. Hey, he supports the channel and stuff like that. And he asked me a long time ago, and I'm finally getting to it. We're going to get into tonight brass construction. Hey man, I tell you, the reason it took so long because there's a whole lot. Man, do you know how many albums this band had? This band had 120 albums. No, I'm exaggerating, but they had a lot of music to dig through and stuff like that. And we finally got around to the story on them, Randy Muller and the boys and stuff like that. And there's a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna get right into it. And I need you to hang around to the bottom.
Brothers and sisters, that song right there, whoo, that thing was hot as a firecracker back in the day. Man, music was just different back then. Musicians were not just pushing buttons, you had to know how to play. And the people did not just listen to that music, they lived it. It was a whole atmosphere. Saturday night, everybody in the mirror trying to get their fro just right, using that afro pick with the fist on the end of it. Butterfly collars so wide they looked like they were ready for takeoff. Platform shoes making a dude 5'8" look 6 feet tall. And folks were cruising in Cutlass Supremes, Monte Carlos, and Buick Regals with an 8-track tape blasting in the dash. You all remember those 8-track tapes? You could not just rewind them. When your favorite song ended, you had to click all the way through the whole thing just to come back around and hear it again. And this was right around the time America was getting ready for that big bicentennial celebration coming the next year. Gas prices and inflation were putting a little squeeze on folks, but that was not stopping anybody from riding to the skating rink, the block party, or anywhere a live funk band was about to tear the roof off the mother. And right in the middle of all that was an American soul and funk band brewing in Brooklyn called Brass Construction. Man, these cats were not just making records, they were helping create the soundtrack to one of the greatest eras in music. Hey, any of y'all want to go back and see what it was all about? Well, come on, y'all get ready to pull up your bell bottoms. Grab that can of Afro Sheen and spray your fro one more time and get your pimp walk ready. We are about to take a trip back to a time when things were definitely a little more different. Load up and let's get ready to go. Now, before Brass Construction became one of the most recognizable funk bands of the 70s, there was a young musician born in Guyana in the mid-50s named Randy Muller. As a child, his ears were shaped by the vibrant local sounds of the Caribbean. He spent his early years scavenging worn-out, traditional steel drums directly from the trash after local bands threw them away. He would figure out how to retune those dented oil pans by hand, learning to play them in ensembles he formed with his neighborhood friends. But around 1963, his family moved him to Brooklyn, New York. He landed in a thriving post-migration melting pot where the city's public school music programs and George Gershwin Junior High School gave him the formal structure to refine his raw instinct. His professional journey started in 1968 with a teenage rhythm, blues, and rock group called Dynamic Souls. They were not polished superstars, they were young musicians learning their craft, rehearsing, developing their sound, and figuring out what they could do together. Then they would eventually start playing around spots in New York. As that group grew, newer members brought in elements of jazz and Latin music. By 1970, the group expanded to a 9-piece ensemble, bringing together a nice little funky group of musicians at this point. And Randy realized that the sound they were building needed a name that represented what people were actually hearing in them. Dynamic Souls needed to evolve to something more powerful, and that's when the name became Brass Construction. Not just any name, these guys were really trying to construct something notable. The rhythm section was tight, but the brass was right up front in your face, giving the band that big, powerful sound that would eventually become their trademark. The original lineup included Randy Muller on keyboards and vocals, Larry Payton on drums, Wade Williamson on bass, Wayne Parrish, Morris Price on trumpet, Jesse Ward Jr., Michael Grudge on saxophones, Joseph Arthur Wong on guitar, and Sandy Billups on percussion. 9 skilled music cats, one sound, and now they just needed somebody to hear it. That somebody turned out to be producer Jeff Lane, an older, sharp-dressing music impresario who was in the audience at one of their shows scouting talent. He was blown away by their raw energy and signed them to his independent label, Doc Records. So, with him, in 1970, Brass Construction debuted on a 7-inch 45 RPM record which contained 2 Muller compositions. It was the song, Two Timin' Lady on the front and Take It Easy on the back. This was about to be it, right? But nah, man, none of that was the stuff that would make them famous, yet it became an important piece of the puzzle though, because Lane would recognize what Randy Muller could do as an arranger. With what he saw, Lane would employ Muller as an arranger on recordings by other artists. Yeah, y'all, you gotta recognize that Randy helped arrange the smash hits, Do It Till You're Satisfied, and Express. Now, Express reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Randy's work helped put him in rooms where some serious music was being made. But behind the scenes, Randy was pulling off a total musical con game.
Actually, I never did string arrangements before in my life until Jeff says, Muller, need some string on this track tomorrow. No, it was like, this is Monday, like Wednesday. I want some string on this. I don't know what the hell, I never did string, I did horns. He go, you're smart, you'll find out. Wednesday, just tell me what you need.
He had only just enrolled and started learning music theory at Hunter College.
What's interesting, as a matter of fact, the song Express, I remember writing it and sitting at my grandmother's table and without a piano. And that's why you hear those string parts are so simple. But the interesting thing about that, I wasn't finished. He's outside my house blowing his horn. Let's go, we gotta go to the studio. I wasn't finished. And that's how the track came out. It ended up being like a gold album or whatever it was.
The funny thing is, that technical goof-up would eventually lead others to a brand new string style that changed the entire landscape of disco and funk. No, he didn't write Fly Robin Fly, but you can hear Randy's exact signature style all over it and other disco hits from back in the day. It shows that regardless of what Randy had thought, his ideas were being noticed and others were starting to catch on to his stuff, and eventually, managers Sid Mauer and Fred Frank saw the explosive impact Randy was making on the charts with BT Express, and they used their industry muscle to secure a major recording contract for Randy and his band. And this is where the story is now all about the band Brass Construction and how they got famous and why people are still talking about them today. Now, these Brass Construction boys finally had United Artists Records behind them. But a major record company wasn't going to front massive funding for a full album without testing the waters first. They needed a commercial test balloon. United Artists put the band into the studio with producer Jeff Lane. Now, together, they didn't sit down at a desk to write a perfectly packaged pop single. Instead, the magic would just grow straight out of a raw studio jam session. Old Wade Williamson laid down a monster-driving bass line, and drummer Larry Payton was responding to cues from Randy Muller, who was directing all the funk of the musicians. So, what started as an extended studio jam was shaped into an almost 9-minute track with chant vocals, intersecting hard brass riffs, and a rhythm section powered by heavy drumming, funky Fender Rhodes licks, and chanking guitar and scratch. Man, that groove right there made you feel scared to be sitting your butt in a chair on the sidelines, bruh. They called the track simply Movin. This was it. But before committing to a massive album launch, United Artists chose to press promotional copies of the song and threw it straight at the club DJs and dance venues across New York City. And the gamble paid off instantly. Yo, my friends, this track caused a frenzy on the dance floors, further skyrocketing to #1 on the dance chart and even crossed over to #1 on the Billboard R&B singles. On the Billboard Hot 100, it reached number 14, and it also became a massive hit in the United Kingdom. Now, you know what was about to happen next. With a certified smash hit like this, United Artists finally saw the green light to package and deliver the full project. So, in December 1975, they officially released Brass Construction's self-titled debut album. And hearing the tunes, you knew it wasn't about no fancy lyrics. They just wanted the Malin Falcon music to do all the talking. You didn't just get one hit on that vinyl either. While the massive follow-up single Changing went clean to #1 on the Billboard dance chart, street dancers and club DJs immediately ate up the tracks Dance and Talkin'. Then they showed up to meet Dick Clark on American Bandstand in June of 1976. This was national television where millions of people could see the band and hear the music. But there was also another moment that showed just how deeply that record Movin' had entered American culture. The hit was used in the background of the famous Good Times episode called The Big Move. This was where the Evans family received the devastating news that James Evans had been killed in a car accident.
Killed in an automobile?
For people who grew up watching that show, that episode and that song connection is unforgettable. And Brass Construction was not finished, not even close. In October of 1976, they released Brass Construction 2. The band had gone back in the studio and expanded the sound, bringing in more Latin and Afro-Cuban influenced rhythms while keeping that unmistakable groove.
3, 2, 4, 2.
Yeah, man, they hit them with Ha Cha Cha. That record became another major dance floor favorite, reaching #9 on the R&B chart and #14 on the dance chart. The album reached #26 on Billboard and achieved gold status, marking the band's second certified full-length record. To this day, people say this was the jam. And if you flip that album over, the true funk heads ran straight to the heavy underground street anthem called Screw. Then by '77, they dropped Brass Construction 3. This album brought in their funk and disco foundation with layered strings and diverse rhythmic textures. Yep, tore them up again with We and Love You, proving these cats were nowhere near a fluke. That song Love You relied on a deep-pocketed bass and spiraling guitar, peaking at #18 and becoming their final top 20 R&B hit. But they kept the momentum going again with Brass Construction 4 in 1978 and then Brass Construction 5 in 1979. Songs like Get Up to Get Down shook the clubs across the United States, while Music Makes You Feel Like Dancing kept them firmly planted on the charts across the world, especially over in the UK. They were releasing numerically titled albums that just kept delivering that consistent, heavy Brooklyn funk. But were they done? No way, son. Brass Construction 6 came out in September 1980, and the street-heavy track, How Do You Do? Man, that thing was so funky you needed to take a dang gas mask on the dance floor with you. By this time, they sort of moved away from that prior up-tempo call and response stuff, and now we're just breaking the tempo down and putting in some straight-up P-funk. Bruh, you could hear George Clinton all over some of that album, yet they still balanced it out with some tunes using their older flavor. But you've heard me say many times how going into the 80s changed or screwed things up for a lot of artists and musicians, right? Well, Brass Construction was not immune to the music pandemic taking place. Disco dipped out, nobody wanted to fund those large bands anymore, electronic instruments became more important, with synthesizers everywhere, and one-man producers on the rise. So, Brass Construction had to make a choice. They could try to sound like 1976 forever, or they could evolve. My man Randy Muller chose evolution. Moving to Liberty Records and later Capitol Records, the group released albums like Attitudes in 1982 and Conversations in 1983. These later records incorporated more synthesizer-driven production. But my people, by 1985, that's when the glory days ran out of gas. Man, after releasing Renegades and Conquest, that original Brass Construction run was essentially over for the most part, and the group as we knew it split. Yet this is where the story hits you right in the gut. Reality started checking the humanity and lifespan of the legends inside Brass Construction. Yeah, y'all, Joseph Arthur Wong, the lightning-fast guitarist whose licks gave the tracks that sharp-biting edge, passed away in 1998. Then the band was dealt a double blow in 2016 that also left the funk community devastated. Yeah, Larry Payton, the heartbeat of the band whose pocket drumming gave Movin' its savage power, sadly passed away. And that very same year, Jesse Ward Jr., whose soaring saxophone squeals defined that legendary brass wall of sound, also went home to glory too. When you go back and spin those original records today, knowing what you know now, you hear something entirely different. That wasn't no computer program. That wasn't some guy sitting behind a screen clicking a mouse to fake or sample a groove. That was real dudes who had the music mindset to get behind real drums, percussion, bass, guitar, horns, keys, and microphones and create the genuine funk using the human spirit. 9 real men in a room, emptying their souls onto a piece of vinyl or magnetic tape and building a legendary brotherhood together.
Yeah, man, that's Brass Construction. Hey, I couldn't get every song in, so before you start saying something, we talked about the music, we talked about the band. One thing I really didn't get into was the fact that Randy Muller had a whole lot to do with Sky, the band Sky. It was one of the same with Sky. They actually sung in the background with Brass Construction in the studio and stuff like that, and he kind of put them on. I'll see you guys next time on the Music Mindset channel. I'm Mr. Mindset.